Okay, cool. Welcome, guys. We are back for another video slash podcast. Today will most likely be a slightly shorter one. We've kind of got two topics that we want to chat over. Mindful eating and basically mindful movement, I suppose, or the importance of staying active, staying busy and mobility and just sort of stretching and moving as much as we can. So we are on day 14.
14.
Day 14 of lockdown. So I think, I suppose all the topics that we are discussing go hand in hand with what we have previously discussed, but I suppose just a little bit more detail into what we're going to chat about. So how's it going, guys?
Good. Yeah, so far so good.
2 weeks in, so 14 days, 7 days to go. I'm still, I think I'm not struggling as much as I was when it was our last video, because I think, we go through that period in the beginning of like maybe a little bit of excitement or newness, and then it just starts getting hard, and now we're almost just accepting it like, okay, well, yes.
Yeah.
Almost
I think we all going through a bit of a dip at the moment, and we were chatting earlier, and everyone, I think if you feel that after this 21 days, everything goes back to normal, I think you're going to be very disappointed. I think you're setting yourself up for failure, thinking, oh no, after 21 days, we're back to normal, back to the malls, back to work. I think even if they do stop the lockdown, I still think there's still going to be very, very big strict measures in place with regards to social distancing, and then also a bit of paranoia with regards to people being paranoid because it's actually not finished. And so I think after 21 days, there's still going to be some sort of paranoia involved in all of that.
But I also think I don't think we'll ever go back to normal, like normal we knew normal how it was, because obviously normal didn't work, because if it worked, we wouldn't have been in this situation. So I think like there's also good stuff coming out of this. I mean, walking into the supermarket, washing your hands, washing the trolley, that's not a bad thing. That shouldn't stop.
And that was always there. That was always there. Those wet wipes were always there.
Always there. And now it's
like uses them.
Now they're going to have to buy a lot more of them because everyone's going to use them all the time. But like you say, it's not a bad thing. Even with regards to the gym,
equipment getting cleaned.
Walk in and clean the equipment afterwards. Those are all practices that we can. It's not something that we should do under drama state. It's potentially something that we should will most likely continue to do, just to practice in general.
Yeah. So I think taking out of this, obviously hygiene. I think it emphasized a lot on our own personal hygiene and hygiene of places and facilities that we're in, and then also I think it's emphasizing the fact of the importance of movement, because I see now I had a few clients send me messages. They were trying to get hold of some equipment. Obviously we sent some of the equipment out with the boxes, and that equipment got depleted. But like online stores and stuff had no more dumbbells, no more gym equipment. So clearly people felt the need to start training now. And I think the importance of mindful eating. So that's one of the topics, or what we're eating. And I think we're all finding some new things about ourselves, that we're sitting at home and we tend to snack a little bit more than what we should be. So I think it's bringing to light a few things.
Yeah, definitely. And I think obviously this weather that we're having the last few days is not helping either. So I think there's a lot of situations going on at the moment. But also if we look at like that, what you said now, Sean, about like the normal not being the normal anymore. I mean, I've heard of lots of companies that said after lockdown, they think they're going to continue, working remotely or working from home, or even if it's 2 or 3 times a week or whatever. So that's a good thing. It's less cars on the road, less pollution, all of those things. But that also means that a lot of people will be working from home after lockdown. And that is also why this mindful eating, it's not only now in lockdown, but also after lockdown.
Carrying on,
our lives are changing. So I think mindful eating, as a dietitian, a lot of people, I always say we get 2 types of dietitians. You get the mindful eating dietitians and the normal dietitians that like to work everything out in grams and calories and all those
Yeah.
things. So I'm a little bit of both. I like to do my calories and my grams and my gram per kilogram and all those things, but I also like to emphasize a lot of the mindful eating patterns and tips, especially in a situation like this. So
Yes.
I think a lot of times we eat because we are bored, or we eat because we are emotional, or we're stressed, or whatever. So I think now is the time to maybe look at that and realize what your triggers are. Like, are you mad? Now I'm eating. So next time that you're mad, you know that, and you can, focus on that and not do that. So a lot of times there's this exercise that you do with the raisins or whatever fruit that you have, and you have it in your hand and you look at it and you smell it and you look at it in the sunlight and you open it up and you see it and you taste it and you whatever, use all your senses, put it in your mouth, and then you chew it very slowly and you swallow and you take this whole situation in. So that is the number one mindful eating exercise that's out there. So I'm not saying, well, you have so much time now, you could do that. But I'm not saying you should do that. But just what I want to say is, I think in this time we must eat with all our emotions, all our senses, because we actually have that time. So today I want everyone to go and maybe have lunch and time yourself. Time how long it's taking you to eat your sandwich or your salad or your whatever. And then tonight...
Too fast.
Hey?
Too fast. Doesn't take me long.
Too fast, yes. And then tonight you try and double that. Because, we have the time now. But then use all your senses. Look at your sandwich, smell it, taste it, all of that when we are eating. And the same goes with chocolate and whatever. So I'm always saying to my patients before lockdown, don't go and eat the chocolate in your car and you quickly swallow it because you don't want your husband to see that you're eating a chocolate, and now there's a taxi driving in front of you and you're mad at him and you swallow that Kit Kat and you don't even realize that you ate it. Sit at home, tell your husband, I'm going to share this Kit Kat with you, tell him about your day, what, enjoy it, take it in, and then it's done. So tomorrow you won't feel like having a Kit Kat again. So that's
cool. I think, I don't want to backtrack too much, but because you have really covered it now, but just for maybe some members that are listening and they're like, okay, well, what is mindful eating? So it's just like you will elaborate on it more now, but essentially just being completely aware about, it's very easy. And we've spoken about subconscious eating as well. When you're bored, you just automatically go to the cupboard or the fridge and you start eating. So mindful eating, I suppose, is just being completely aware about what you're eating, taking it all in, the senses, how it's making you feel. Are you eating emotionally? Are you eating according to when you should be eating?
So I think that the best explanation of mindful eating is if you think of a movie. When you go to movies and you buy popcorn and you buy the big one because it's R5 more expensive and and then you buy it, and before the movie even started, you're done with all the popcorn. But if you
that's not mindful.
If you had to sit at a table, put the popcorn there in small little buckies, you would maybe get halfway and be like, yeah, now I'm full. But because you are in a movie and you're watching the trailers and the movie and you're chatting to whoever's there, before you know it, the popcorn is finished. So I think that is definitely the best example of not eating mindful or mindless eating. So I think that's something that we can look at and we can practice in the next week. Hopefully the lockdown will not get extended, and then that's something that we can take into our lives after lockdown, to sit down at a table when you eat, put your phone away, switch the TV off, stuff like that, so that you can actually zone into your plate. Look at the colors on your plate. A lot of times we are saying, eat like the rainbow, think of all the colors, and then you see that when you're preparing your food, but when you sit at the table and you eat, you don't even look at your food. So I think that is something, definitely use all your senses. Even if you're eating, I know it's very irritating, and I think everyone is now at the moment seeing all things that their partners are doing. So don't listen when your partner is eating, listen to yourself. So listen to the crunchiness, because that is stuff that people, that's why
I can't deal with food noises. If someone makes noises when they eat, I die. I die inside. I can't deal. I literally can't.
So listen to yourself, not to your partner. Because that's one research has shown us. That is one of the reasons why people want chips, because it's crunchy. Lettuce is also crunchy.
I want chips because they taste nice.
That also, it's the size, well, the shape. That's why Doritos is doing so well, because it's a different shape. And then obviously the taste, like you said, and then the crunchiness. So I mean, go and cut your cucumbers in little triangles. It might change your life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think look at your food, smell it, taste it, all the different senses. And I mean, in this time, it is now really time to maybe, build on our relationship. So instead of watching TV and eating, chat to your husband, chat to your wife, chat to your kids. Show them, okay, this is all the different colors in my plate. I mean, you can do a lot in our eating times at the moment. Because if we all our senses, then we won't forget that we ate.
Yes.
It really sounds weird, but that is what's happening. We are eating, and then our bodies and mind and everything isn't connected. So half an hour later, we're like, oh, I want to eat, but you just had something. And then also, I think if you lie in bed at night and you think back at what you've eaten, all the stuff that you forget is all the stuff that you didn't practice mindful eating. So
okay, that's a good way.
Yeah, so that's a good way to think of it. All the cool drink that you're drinking, all the extra quickly a biscuit or a rusk or something in your coffee, all of that is mindless eating. And that's the stuff that we forget about. And then you think, but I have been eating healthy. I had a salad for lunch, but you had 5 bits of biscuits, leading up to lunch. Sommer maar net.
You're guilty of this specifically. I mean, yeah, like it's not only when you're eating, but when you're just doing nothing, being mindful about, okay, when last did I eat? Am I actually hungry now, or am I just bored? Just being aware of all those things instead of automatically just zoning out and going to the cupboard and eating.
So what I do, Chanel, is, and I think a lot of people, it will apply to quite a bit of people, is I'm a pretty mindful eater throughout the day. So I've tried to cut back on refined carbs. So I found, for me, taking bread out of my diet, and I did it towards the end of last year, helped me with losing body fats in general because of the refined carbs. So that's just me, and I changed a few things in my diet which worked very well. So during the day, from breakfast right up until dinner, and Matthew will be with me on this one, we are pretty good mindful eaters. We do take into account what we do eat, what we haven't eaten. Our lunch is pretty routine. It's normally decent. My problem is
At night.
After dinner, at about 9:30 at night, I will smash through a big packet of crisps without it even touching the sides. I promise you, it is absolutely effortless for me to get through a big packet of chips. And it's almost like a craving. I don't really crave sweet things, but it's almost like a savory. I don't know what it is. So I don't know if you can elaborate on something like that.
Yeah, so I think just everything that you told me now, it comes down to you want to eat when you relax. Because you've been busy the whole day, you've been training, you've been working, whatever, and then as soon as like, okay, I have an hour, I have 2 hours before going to bed, now you want to eat. So that's like a different form of emotional eating, because it goes with relaxing. Okay, so you thought that you're not
I'm an emotional eater. Okay,
so
cool.
And it goes with a lot of emotions. Yeah, so emotional eating doesn't only mean, oh, I'm sad, I want to eat, or I'm happy, I want to eat. It goes with all emotions. So I think that's something, and it's a very good observation, and I think a lot of our listeners could actually learn from that, to see when you are eating and know when you are eating, so that you can make a plan. So in that sense, I would say embrace it. Make sure that you put something in your meal plan or in that time that is healthy for you to eat. So I know now in lockdown it's difficult to get stuff, but a lot of my patients at the practice, what I do is I give them those Dan Pro yogurts, the small bakkie, not the bottle, the bakkie. I put that into their meal plan to have in that time. Because, I mean, a lot of us are struggling, especially ladies, we are struggling to get to our protein per day. So if you can add an extra 10 grams in a good, healthy snack, why not do that? So I think try and add stuff in there that you know is healthy. Or if you can get some biltong, or maybe, that's a good snack. Or if you can have, like, cut up your snacks into smaller pieces. So that it takes longer to eat. So even if it is, I know I'm always saying cucumber, but even if it's cucumber and you cut it up in little small blockies, it's something that you can eat, but it will take you longer than just shoving everything in your mouth.
Right.
Yeah. So I think do that, and also pack it out. So if you are going to have your chips, pack it in a little small bucky instead of sitting there with the packet.
The whole packet.
Okay? So that you can look at it.
So what I was doing is I was like, okay, cool. Because at one stage I was just getting through a big packet and I was like, no, Sean, this is like for when people come for a brine, a few guys have a few crisps and you're smashing the whole thing. So what I was doing is I was actually trying to be very good, if you could call it that. And I was like, okay, cool, I'm going to stop with half the packet and then the other half will be for tomorrow night. And obviously it's a step in the right direction, but nonetheless, I'm still smashing chips in my face.
No, it's still 50% less. So, I mean, it is a step in the right direction. Yeah.
That's true.
And I've never done this, so please don't burn down your house. But apparently, you can make popcorn in a brown bag in your microwave. Okay.
Yeah, if you put the popcorn seeds,
Yes. So you can do that because, I mean, that's a very good alternative to chips at night. Because a lot of us are craving chips and whatever. And I mean, putting a little bit of salt or whatever on your popcorn, it's not the end of the world because hopefully we are all training. That is what we are promoting.
I was just going to say to you.
So you're sweating and
So like to the people that are like, oh yeah, no, I've gone to popcorn, but I can't put salt on. But just yesterday you were eating chips with all the sodium and all the ingredients on. So the popcorn with a bit of salt on is still better than what you were doing.
Definitely. Especially if you make it, like we said now, in the brown bag, because you don't add any oil to it. So the chips, like the Doritos and the Lays and those, they're very high in fat and salt. So if we can at least take out the fat part of it. And I mean, if you're not going to be on stage for some other body fitness competition, whatever, now in the next 2 or 3 weeks, have the salt. It's not the end of the world. We are training, we are sweating. And I mean, you're definitely eating other stuff that's even worse. So I don't think that's a problem.
I think that's the problem with a lot of guys is like, even now, you have the mindset of like, okay, I'm either dieting or I'm not. You know, it's like kind of all or nothing. So I'm guilty of that as well. If I decide I want to, you know, go on a health streak and that, then I don't want to eat any sweets. I don't want to eat any chips because I struggle.
Yeah, Matthew's like balls to the wall.
Yeah. I think it's a case of, you know, we people are like, oh, okay, now I'm all of a sudden going to eat popcorn, but I'm not going to have any salt or I'm not going to have nothing. You know, instead of, like you said, rather have some chips, but put them in a small bowl and say that, allow that into your diet to help with compliance and just, you know, instead of kind of depriving yourself.
It goes back to like the good old buying a Big Mac meal, but you're having a Diet Coke and everyone's like, oh, what's the Diet Coke going to do? Well, actually it's doing a lot because I'm not getting all the sugar.
Yeah.
If I was, I'm getting that much less sugar.
Yes, exactly.
So that type of mindset is just, I can't understand it.
If you have a chocolate,
and I mean, it doesn't have to be all in or nothing. I mean, you could find a happy medium in between. So I think, especially after lockdown also, but I really think in this time, people are very hard on themselves. So like I said the other day already, this is already a challenge in itself. So don't try and make it worse for yourself by saying, oh, I really want to have chips, but there's going to be a weerligstraal uit die hemel uit. It's not like that. It's fine. You're going to be fine. But don't make it a habit and don't do all the bad stuff every meal, every day for 21 days. Then it becomes a problem. But if you need your handful of chips to survive, Sean, it's okay.
It's not the handful that's the problem, it's the packet.
I say that.
I mean, I've been buying packet of chips. I mean, it's an essential. It's essential for me. I have to get the chips in. But I do now that you brought popcorn up, I do remember towards the end of the last year when we were training so hard for the battle, I did start eating a lot more popcorn instead of the chips. So I'd have a whole packet of popcorn instead of the chips.
Yeah. And you also get, obviously now you won't find it, but on Takealot, and I think I saw it Crazy Stores, it's like a small orange thingy. It's like this size of like a, and there's like a little floppy like this, and you put the popcorn in and you close it, put it in the microwave. I think it's like 50 Rand at Crazy Store. It's a bit more expensive on Takealot. And then also you don't add any oil into it or anything. And then that is exactly one portion of popcorn. So that is something nice to have in your office. I mean, we all have microwaves wherever we go. So that's something nice that you can add to your, routine as well.
So just something I want to chat on before we carry on. So with regards to the mindful eating, we are at home. I've brought this up many times. Matt's probably going to think like, oh, here he goes again on the coffee street. But we're all having tea and coffee throughout the day. But like more than usual. And with regards to this weather, it's absolutely ridiculous. Now, I only have 1 sugar with my coffee every day. But now my coffee is now at 5 cups a day. That's 5 teaspoons of sugar a day. Times by 7. That's what, 35 teaspoons a week. Now, I did this to one of my personal training clients. They were eating so good. So good. I don't understand why I'm not losing body fat. So I was like, okay, well, are you drinking coffee or tea? Yeah, I am. So I think it was 1.5 sugars. And I was like, well, that's still sugar going into your system. Just because it's coffee doesn't mean it's not sugar. And I worked out that in a 2-week period, it worked out to about 1.5 kilos of sugar a week in 2 weeks. That's just coffee, never mind the other shit. So if you're eating clean, so that's just something that I thought we should mention is
definitely. So the coffee is not the problem, the tea is not the problem, it's the stuff that we put in there. Yes. People do weird stuff. Nee? Like people put in cream, cremora, sugar, and hazelnut syrup all in 1 cup, and they have 5 cups. I'm telling you, I'm not making this up. Like really. So that's ridiculous. So usually, give or take, 3 teaspoons of sugar would be the same as a slice of bread. Calorie carb wise, give or take. So obviously that is something to look into. We could maybe switch it to sweetener. Okay, so obviously I know too much sweetener also isn't ideal. There's other problems coming with that. But I definitely feel if you're going to have 3, 4, 5 cups of coffee a day and you switch it to a sweetener, it definitely can have some benefits. Also the milk, we don't have to have full cream and double cream and whatever milk in our coffee. We can have low fat and fat-free, you won't die. So I think that is also something that you can put in, because then it's already sugar and it's already fat that you are adding into this, that you're drinking somma manette there because you're sitting in a Zoom meeting or whatever. So that's definitely something. But not only coffee and tea, like fruit juice as well. A lot of stuff people like, I would say, and I always use this example of someone going to Mug and Bean and then having like this very healthy salad, thinking everything that's in there is so healthy, and I definitely must have a fruit juice because I can't have coffee, it's just too bad for me. And then they feel they had such a healthy lunch that they definitely deserve a piece of cake after this. And then they actually had their whole day's calories in one meal, because in the salad there was maybe some fried chicken, which we see a lot in salads. There's a lot of avo, which is healthy. It's a healthy fat, but it's still high in calories. Extra sauces and whatever. And then 500 ml of fruit juice, which is the same as 4 fruits, which is the same as 60 grams of sugar or carbs or whatever. And then cake, the size of a piece of cake. So I think of what you're drinking, like the fruit juice, dilute it if you can. I know it sounds weird, but take like half a glass of fruit juice, add water to it, especially if it's like 100% fruit juice, or just cut the fruit juice and rather have a fruit. That's definitely better. There's more fiber in the fruit as well. And then, those fruit, cool drink mixes that you like, Orals and stuff like that. If you go and buy that, if it's on your essential list, check how you dilute it. If it's 1-3 or 1-20 or whatever. So the higher that number is, 2. So if it's 1-20, that's a better option than the one that's 1-3, for instance, because then you are using and you're adding more sugar and whatever into your drink. So even like sweeter, a lot of people, but there's colorants and this and that. Yes, there is, but you use this little bit in like a whole glass of water. So it's not that bad. It's still better than having the Coke and the fruit juice and the sugar in your coffee and those things. So because I think a lot of times we are saying stay hydrated, and then we don't tell people how. So I think that's a very good point that you brought up. and then have a cool fancy bottle to drink your water with. That's the only way I get my water in. Yeah.
My water gets in only through training. Yeah, I know. But it's literally only through training.
If I don't want to be dehydrated, I have to be super mindful of how much water I'm drinking. Like just simply having a bottle and having it full and keeping it with you all the time is probably the best way to do that.
Yeah,
and I mean, a lot of us are using MyFitnessPal and those things for food, but there's a lot of apps that you can use for water as well. It's like alarms going off and what. So, I mean, that's something that it's a good habit that people can start implementing now already, because we are close to the bathroom all the time.
Yeah, so I think going from mindful eating, we kind of decided that we'll touch on from a movement perspective as well, sort of mindful movement. I don't even know if that's such a thing. If not, it is now. But
that's a thing, bro.
Oh, yeah, it is now.
Claim it.
So basically, mindful movement and not so much training. We've touched on training quite a bit, and we know we need to stay disciplined and all of that.
Most of us know how to train anyway, so it's.
But mindful movement.
Speak for yourself, Sean.
So obviously, when it comes to our calorie intake per day, we've got a certain amount of calories that we need to, or that we're burning on a particular day. And over the last 14 days, that has dramatically decreased because of the lack of movement that we're doing. Even our exercise per day, everyone shows us their watch or their phone, or look, I burned 300 calories. Obviously, that's beneficial. That's great. But in relation to the amount of calories we need to burn in a day compared to how much we're consuming, most of our calories are actually burned through movement. And just literally burning calories right now, and I'm going to get up just now, I'm going to walk to the bathroom, that's going to burn calories. Normally we're walking to the car and we're walking upstairs. And so obviously the amount of calories we're burning is decreased tremendously, which is making it more difficult now, because now we should be eating less, but we're actually eating more. So the you can't out-train a bad diet is more applicable now than ever. So mindful movement in a sense of, firstly, we were chatting about being tight, and that's making training harder. I find I have to warm up a lot more, and it's because I'm not moving around as much. My muscles aren't active. I'm not stretching. I'm not keeping them warm just by moving. So it's making all of that, a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, I said to Matt, in Matt chats obviously often, and we talk about training and what training we're going to do. And I've had a back injury in the past, so has Matthew, and it might stem from that. If you've got past injuries, it might get a little bit due to the lack of inactivity, or the lack of activity, should I say. I found that my back and lower and my glutes and my hips were getting seriously tight, and it's not like I wasn't doing anything less. I'm still training as hard as what I can, considering, but I was really struggling, and I was like, I haven't done anything really that should be really out of the norm to what I am used to. And I said to Matt, it's purely on the fact that we're sitting down the whole day. I mean, no one's standing around. Everyone's sitting on the couch or sitting at home. It's very seldomly that we're standing. And I found that, I said to Matt, maybe it's a good topic just to bring up. And I found in the last 2 or 3 sessions, I've had to warm up probably about half an hour of just literally stretching and going through movement and stretching again and going through movement and stretching again before I even start a workout, because our bodies are tight, especially in the hips and the lower back. That's where I'm finding it. And Matthew, actually, funny enough, he did a squat snatch workout yesterday, and I said to him, I did some squat snatches the other day, and I said to him, just check how tight your pecs and your shoulders are when you go into that overhead squat position. It is absolutely horrific how long it took me to start warming up my overhead squat. And it's purely
on the empty bar, to start warming up. But I mean, and it's purely from being inactive, or not being inactive in the sense of training. If we think, okay, cool, we're training every day, we're training our hour a day or whatever it is, we're still extremely inactive compared to what we normally are. So we're not talking about exercise now. We're talking about moving.
The daily routine.
And I think at the same time, depending on where we live as well, and the size of the place you live, none of us can go for a walk around the block. So, I mean, it's not to say now that we're going to make a drastic change, and all of a sudden we're still going to be moving less than what we will in 7 days' time when the lockdown ends. But I think, again, it's a case of, do we want to be doing something that's perfect now, or do we just want to be improving on something that we can potentially improve on? So instead of saying, okay, cool, normally I burn 1,500 or 2,000 calories just from movement on a daily basis. Or my sister was telling me as well that she normally gets 10,000 steps a day, easily.
Yeah.
You know, she's struggling to get 5,000 steps, which I thought was still pretty impressive considering you stuck in your house. But I mean, she's mindful about it and she's making the effort to get those steps in on a daily basis. So I think it's a case of, we're not going to get our 10,000 steps, but let's see how many steps we can get and be aware and be mindful of that. So like simple examples or practical examples that we even spoke about in our last podcast, it's a case of, if you're still working from home, set an alarm on your phone, or even if you're not working, just set an alarm on your phone for every 30 minutes. And every 30 minutes, doesn't matter if you have to go to the bathroom, whether you try not to go to the fridge, obviously that's defeating the purpose, but every 30 minutes, make a plan in your head to say, okay, cool, I'm going to walk. I'm going to do a little walk around the garden, or I'm going to walk 5 laps around the garden, or I'm just going to go do 5 squats or 10 squats or whatever it may be. You don't want to get all sweaty and that, but just do something that allows you to move a little bit more. Even we've spoke about, I sent a hip flexor stretch to the CrossFit Kempton group yesterday. So obviously when we're in a seated position, our hip flexors get tight because they obviously need to be in an extended position. That makes our lower back sore. So even if it's a case of you walk up and down the passage 10 times and then stretch your hip flexors out for 30 seconds every half an hour, I think that'll make a huge difference.
Definitely. So I saw yesterday on a WhatsApp group also, now that we're talking about the coffee and the tea and whatever, someone is saying every time that they boil the kettle, they do sit-ups. And I thought that's such a good idea, because it's something that you do.
Time,
Yes, and then she said, so my kettle takes 5 minutes to boil. So I think that's something that people can implement, something that you do regularly throughout the day. You stand there anyway and wait for the kettle.
Why not?
Yes, so I think find something that you are going to do in any way, and then in that time, I remember when I was, obviously this is not applicable anymore because we don't have TV like that anymore, but I remember when I was small and I was still staying, at my parents' house, when there were advertisements on TV, I used to run up and down in the passage. And then I'd try and do 4 laps and be home or back in front of the TV before the show starts. Yeah, right. So obviously that's not applicable in Netflix anymore. But something like that you can do, in the time that we are sitting and whatever.
And the thing is as well, it sounds so simple. It sounds like, but that's silly, doing sit-ups on my kettlebells. But why not? We've got time. We're at home. We're not doing anything. And the thing, I think we might think it's silly because we think, how much difference is it really going to make? Well, I know for a fact.
More difference than what it is now.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah. It's going to make more difference than it's making now. And it's hard because we're not actually physically seeing the benefits of burning the calories. But over a long period of time, if we made an effort to get our 10,000 steps in every single day for 21 days from the beginning of the lockdown, we would see a difference. Absolutely. If we had to measure, we would see a difference.
Yeah. That's why I've taken the opportunity now. When we're in the normal world, there's always I don't have time. Oh, I'm busy. Oh, I don't have time. Now we have time, and people are still not doing what they need to do. I'm guilty of it as well. That's why it took me about a week, and I was like, no, man, this back is just tightening up. Then I was like, I need to get into some overhead positions. Now I've got the time to warm up as long as I want. Normally when we're training, when we've got classes to coach and clients to see, it's like, okay, cool, do the bare minimum warm up. And no one likes to stretch. Boring. Yeah. I'll say it right now, it's boring.
Yeah, I don't.
I can't stand it. That's why I've got tight forearms and whatever, because it's boring. It bores me to hell, and it bores everyone. Wants to do the boring stuff. They just want to do the sexy stuff. Let's get a sweat. But at the end of the day, is we're doing so much training. For instance, that kettle boiling, that's just contraction. We do a class workout, more contraction, push-ups, lunges, squats, dumbbell snatches, whatever. And then we're doing all of that. That's the little bit that we're doing in the day, if it is, and it's all contraction. Very seldomly are we stretching it out. And I think that contraction combined with sedentary lifestyle, what we've got now, is probably what's going to make a big problem for us in the long run, or getting back into the swing of things from the word go, if we don't focus on our stretching and mobility.
And I think we said as well that we're not going to go back to normal when it comes to the end of the lockdown. So at the same time, if you apply that to a gym scenario, if we think that we're going to get back into the box, and even if we have been doing a 60-minute home workout a day, we're going to do ourselves an injustice. And obviously we're going to, as coaches, are going to play a big role in making sure that we're not going to go back into the box and start squatting and lifting the same weights we were before, because we're tight. And if we're tight and we try and do that, we're going to pick
injuries.
Yeah.
I was thinking of that. Funny enough, I was actually thinking about that this morning when I was coaching the class. I was like, it's going to be so nice to be in the box again and be back to normal training and stuff. However,
it's going to take time.
I know for a fact my back squat has dropped dramatically. I've got a hip issue. I was thinking about, something so stupid. My hands are soft. I feel like I work in an office, right? My toes to bar and my gymnastics, I'm going to rip. The first 3 weeks, I'm just going to rip my hands open again, because it's not going to go back to normal. Now, I think we need to take the approach of be mindful of everything that we do in a sense of the longevity with regards to eating and the boring stuff like stretching and making sure we move properly. I think when we get back to normal, or whatever normal will be, it will be an easier transition, because I think if we think we're going to go back to normal and start back squatting and PRing, the programming is going to change. No one's going to look for a PR anytime soon.
I think that's the same with running and cycling. I think it's CrossFit, and all other training. But I mean,
yes,
the other day, just before the lockdown, I said to my one friend, I'm so upset with Corona, because I don't think that people gave me the
You're not the only one.
Yeah. Because like I did a marathon, and then a weekend later I did an ultra marathon, and I said I feel like people didn't tell me I was crazy enough to do this, because then Corona hit and I didn't get any of that. So it's like I wanted more of this. So now I'm not even walking 3 or 4 Ks a day, but there I ran 100 Ks a week for 2 weeks straight. So how am I going to go back to that? So I think this is a big thing, because a lot of runners are now running in their gardens. Yes, I know, but it's not the same. Like people are getting in. I'm hearing about all my friends having ITB, having Achilles, because they're all taking the same turn, same side, whatever. Long story. We are all runners are now doing other exercises. I mean, I'm doing skipping rope like a crazy person here outside my house. I'm doing the CrossFit stuff. I'm doing the Insanity, whatever. It's not stuff that I'm used to. So yes, we are keeping fit, but it's not the actual training that we used to do. So I think we're still waiting for comrades to actually say if it's going to move or get postponed or cancelled or whatever. But how?
Everyone's assuming comrades is going to be cancelled, and it most likely is. They have to. But imagine it's not. It's actually they'll be able by cancelling, just because
the amount of people are going to get injured. It's just going to be
preparation.
Exactly, and the safety part of it. So I mean, we don't know. I don't know if I can't run a marathon now. I did
21 days off running long distance, and then expect your training to be on par and on track. No,
it's never going to be the same.
So like I was looking at my diary this morning thinking like, okay, if lockdown is going to get cancelled, where am I going to book my patients in? Usually I leave Saturday mornings open until like 11, and I start seeing patients from 11 because I have to do my long run first. But now a long run most probably will be like 15 Ks. So, I mean, usually it will be 30 or 40. I need 4 hours. Now I need an hour and a half. So everything is going to change because I won't be able to do a 30 Ks now. So I think it's a very good point that people should be looking at this now and realize that, okay, after lockdown, my long run won't be a 30. Yes, there's people that is like that freaks of nature that would be able to do that. But the normal comrades, 11-hour finisher, most probably will start back at a 10 and a 15. And I mean, like you said now with your back being sore, my back was killing me like 3 days ago because I'm sitting and studying the whole time. That's not, and usually I move around at the practice, I'm training, I'm running, all of those things. And I decided, no, one day I'm not going to study. I'm going to wash all the curtains and whatever in the house. And just by doing that evening I said to Jock, no, my back is fine now. just because I was moving and I was up the walls and what, and I was fine, just because I'm moving more. So I don't think, I think people are actually missing that part more than we actually know and realize.
Yeah. I want to also just mention one thing, like, and this is the reason I want to mention this is because I've been mindful about this personally. Like, I feel like with regards to everything we've spoken about, like the stretching and just something small, what you said about cutting your food up and getting it into portions. And I'm generally a person that feels like a rush. I like put myself into a position where I feel rushed. And it's just because of lifestyle, you know, it's how I am. It's like we wake up, we coach, we train, we work, we have to go coach again, we train. And it's like, and I put pressure on myself to get certain things done and all of that, which is obviously not necessarily a bad thing. But I feel often when it comes to training, like the stretching part is like even now in my garage, I feel like, okay, cool, let's go train. Let's warm up, let's train. I want to get it done. I want to get this, you know, like we're in a 21-day lockdown. Like we have to be mindful about the fact that we have time now. It's like something we're not necessarily used to.
It's time that's been given to us. It will never get taken away. It will never be given again.
So, I mean, what's wrong with actually doing those things and setting aside time to stretch properly and take longer time to do things and sort of practice that now, as in develop a habit to be able to do that afterwards? Because even when we go back to normal, you know, I don't need to be, one doesn't need to be in a position where we rush to do these things as well. So just being mindful about the time that we actually have in a day, if we structure that time correctly and be mindful about that as well, then it obviously is going to add a lot more benefit to mindful eating and to mindful movement. You know?
And also, like you said just now when we were talking about the sit-ups and the boiling kettle thing and whatever, you said the words that you used, Matt, was like, it might feel silly, okay? And that's true. But we are all doing silly things. We are running in our gardens. We are having meetings on our computers. We are all doing weird stuff. So that's okay. Yeah, I mean, it's fine. Don't worry about looking weird because who's going to see you?
Yeah. At the end of the day, we're all walking around with masks on our face. So what difference is it going to make if you're doing sit-ups in your kitchen?
What's more important than well, being healthy and being kept sane during a time like this?
Yeah, I was about to say, keeping this ticking over. Yeah, 100%.
Yeah. Anything else you guys want to add? I think that was quite nice just to have two topics where we just touched on. I thought stuff there. I mean,
there was some cool stuff there. Yeah, 100%. Hopefully, everyone else that watches also gets some stuff there. It's not. I think sometimes I'm just going to close with this. I think sometimes, and you know, being in the same sort of industry, fitness and health, and we are also human. And I think some people assume that we are these robots, and they'd be like, oh, so I don't know, you get sore. Well, yeah, I'm a human. This is meat. It's sore. It's muscle. It's the same thing with being a dietitian. I mean, God forbid they see you put a muffin in your face. Oh,
it happens.
You're a dietitian. I'm also human. And I think sometimes it's nice for members and for the GP, general population, just to understand that it's just because we are in the industry and running up the industry and we train hard, doesn't mean we don't have days where we are sore or we don't want to train or we don't want to eat clean. We're not robots. Just because we are heading up the industry doesn't mean we are not going through the same things that everyone else is feeling.
And I mean, when I started with this whole, when I was studying dietitian and then I did the whole sport nutrition masters and then you start to feel like I'm not Gardasteen. Like I'm running comrades. I've done 5, but I mean, I don't think I will summer run anything faster than 9.5. Like, and I still want to get there. My best time is 10:20. So I really want to still get there. And then I started feeling, but how can I tell people that's like a faster runner or a better runner or that's better than me at CrossFit or whatever? How can I want to tell them that, listen, you must eat this and this, but I can't do that. Yeah. So that was a big thing, and it was a big mental thing. And then my dad actually told me, Chanel, it's like saying that a doctor that works with cancer is not allowed to get cancer.
Yeah.
And I felt that was such a good way of, thinking about it and whatever, because we are all just human. And I mean, we all have our different genetic makeup and all those things, and you are inclined to different things. But that doesn't mean that you can't help anyone else. So like the other day also I think it was at a CrossFit camp or somewhere, and I was eating a wrap or something, and someone said to me, "Oh, you were eating." And I'm thinking, no, ek foto Cynthia. Of course I'm eating. So I think that is a good point. And that we are all human. Like even Gerard Steyn, like I mean, all the top athletes, all of us are just still human. So I think that's a good point to.
Right.
Yeah, awesome, guys. Thank you very much. We'll see you again in a couple of days.
Cool.
Yeah.